And we're back here on the Stogie Geek Show with our third and final segment of episode 75. Thanks everyone for tuning in to our show. And we've got a fantastic segment titled Mount Rushmore, which doesn't involve mounting, which I'm kind of disappointed in a way.
I'll mount you if you want me to.
Somewhat thankful that Mark Jr. won't be mounting me, but Will, why don't you set up this segment for us? Since this was your brainchild, while I bring up my notes on this segment, because I thought it was a fantastic idea once I figured it out.
Okay, so I got this inspiration. I was listening. You know, a lot of people know I love my Philadelphia sports teams. I'm not an Eagles fan, but I love all the other Philadelphia teams.
Thank God for that.
Right, that's a story.
But
for
even
another
worse, you're a freaking Giants fan, so go F yourself.
America's team.
Yeah, America's team, my ass. All right, continue.
But okay, so I tend to listen to a lot of Philly sports radio, and one night it was a slow night in sports, and they
you
were
like missing Ellie out there or what?
You know, he's a clown. I was, but let me tell you, I was a huge fan of Steve Fredericks, his old partner, and he passed away. And Steve Fredericks, the one expression I always take away from him, and he came up with the expression "like it, not love it," which is I tend to use on cigars a lot. I'll say that. So, but I was listening to this segment. It was like a late show one night. It was a slow night in sports. And they were just saying, hey, you know, in the city of Philadelphia, what four athletes, what four coaches, if you had to make a Mount Rushmore and put those Philadelphia figures on Mount Rushmore, which ones would you pick? It really started to make for some interesting conversation because it wasn't to pick only four. It was tough. So I kind of thought about it, and I said, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could do something like that with cigars? And then I started being on the show here, and I just had this in the back of my mind. Maybe this would be a pretty good segment to kind of look at four categories of four we'll look at. And the four categories are, we're going to look at four cigars that you would say belong on Mount Rushmore, four cigar companies, four cigar industry people. So these are people who work in the industry, whether they're blenders or, product heads or whatever. And then four cigar enthusiasts, just people who smoke cigars. So that's kind of what I was going with that. I thought it would be an interesting segment to see what we come up with that.
Yeah, and I think we take each one of these individually and we go around the horn.
Yeah.
And even one apiece and kind of keep going, right? To kind of make it interesting. So we're going to start with the four cigars of Mount Rushmore. So if you had to put the visual in your head, right, and you had to visualize instead of the presidents on Mount Rushmore, what would be the cigars that you would envision on Mount Rushmore?
Okay.
So first for me, as one of my four cigars on Mount Rushmore, is the La Aurora 100 Años Maduro Robusto.
Put me up there.
I can just envision that on Mount Rushmore right there.
So do your four cigars, and then we'll pass it around.
Oh, I was going to go to like Stogie Santa next, see what his first one is.
No, you got to do your four.
Okay.
You gotta do your four.
Or do you want to do my...
Yeah, you got to do your four. Do it.
All right, I'll do my four. So next up on my Mount Rushmore, right next to the La Aurora 100 Años Maduro, is the Padron Pyramid Maduro.
Okay.
I mean, to me, that's I bought a box, and it's one of those epic kind of box purchases for me.
Yep.
It never disappoints, right? It's one of those cigars you smoke out of the box, you smoke it aged. I think it just keeps delivering. Up there on my, it's kind of funny that the Mount Rushmore theme is very patriotic. It's very American, right? But I'm going to put a Cuban cigar
I got it.
up there on my Mount Rushmore, right?
I got to put it up there.
So I'm going to put a Cuban cigar up there as I wheel away in the Stogie Geek studio. I should kind of preface this, that when I did my Mount Rushmores of all these categories, I tried not to really dwell and kind of toil over it. I just, whatever was kind of first in my head, I thought that was a better representation than really kind of thinking about and going through all the different things. I'm like, you know what, whatever pops into my head, that's definitely what's going to be on my Mount Rushmore, because if it's in the forefront of my brain, that's definitely something that's noteworthy, right? So for me, I had the Ramon Allione specially selected. That was my Cuban cigar that I put on Mount Rushmore. I mean, because you can't go wrong with a box purchase. And you can smoke these damn things anytime. They're so versatile.
They're good fresh, they're good aged, they're just good.
Yeah.
Now, those of you that know me and have listened to the show know that the word whore and Paul and Opus X and Davidoff comes to mind. So now I've got one slot left on my cigar Mount Rushmore where you're just thinking, well, Paul, where the hell is the Opus X or the Davidoff on this particular list? And I had to pick one to put up there on my Mount Rushmore.
Let me guess.
Go ahead.
Opus
See if you can.
X.
Yeah.
Opus
It's
X.
an Opus. It's an Opus. It's the BBMF Maduro. Now, there's some engineering that would probably have to go into making this part of Mount Rushmore because it's such a gigantic cigar. But for me, that Opus X BBMF Maduro is just it's just something special. I mean, that size, that wrapper is just it's just yummy. It's epic.
Okay.
So that's my cigar Mount Rushmore.
All right.
Well, the Chen Maduro. I mean, I think that's going to be everybody's. It has to be.
Yeah.
And you stole my thunder with, but the Padron. I'll switch to a different one. I'm going to go to number 6.
Okay.
Number 6 is really
natural or Maduro.
I got to go with the Maduro.
That's the Robusto size, right?
Yeah,
that's a favorite of yours. I can see that on your Mount Rushmore.
And then the La Aurora. I'm going to go the Cameroon Lancero.
2 La Auroras on your list. Wow, that's
really
very telling.
Yeah, I'm telling you that when they're aged, there's nothing like it. That I really enjoy.
Well, we're accepting sponsors here on the Stogie Show. So La
La
Aurora, if you're listening,
I know it. Two big hits.
I agree.
I'm telling you,
no one's going to dispute that.
Yeah,
dude,
I'm telling you. And last but not least, again, not being patriotic, was the 2003 Cohiba that I had.
Those Robustos,
those Robustos were just. I mean, it's.
I like how you qualify that with the year. That because we talked with Pete about years in wine and some of the tooth of that year.
Yep. And last, I hate to have a runner-up. If there was a 5th face, it'd be the year of the snake.
Wow.
Yep.
I think that was 4. No, wait, you said
I did 4.
What was the 4? San Años, Padron, number 6,
and La Aurora.
Cameroon.
Yep, and then the Cohiba.
Oh, and then the Cohiba. Okay,
that year of the snake. I know
your
runner-up.
year
I
of the
hate to
snake.
leave that out.
Yeah.
That year of the snake, I just can't get it off my mind.
I got to smoke more of those.
I shouldn't have put that in as a 5th face, but I had to throw that in there. I didn't want to leave that out. I'm not going to do. I got about 12 left of those Lanceros, and they're about 5 years old.
Yeah, mine too. I've got probably maybe more. I maybe have 15.
Yeah, they are. Anyway,
we're gonna smoke those.
Mark.
I'm gonna leave the La Aurora up there. That stays up there with me, but all mine are different. Other than that, I'm gonna go with the.
Wait, so just so people know, La Aurora, San Años, Robusto Maduro.
Yeah.
Yep.
LG small batch number 1.
I never smoked one, but
that's a good
the small batches that I've smoked have been epic. So.
I know it.
The Arturo Fuente 858 Sun-Grown Rosado.
I was going to say 858 Rosado is going to be up there.
Oh
yeah,
great call.
And I'm not putting 2 up from one. So I'm actually leaving Opus off of mine. Right. But then the next one would be the face from Tatuaje. I absolutely love that smoke, and I can't stop smoking them.
Like you can come up. When you go to 4. You almost want to go back and put them back and forth. Like the other one was. What was the other one we loved?
Pork tenderloin.
Pork tenderloin was good. What was it?
Barclay
Rex.
Yeah, Barclay Rex.
Anyway,
if I had the, I'm not even screw the runner-ups.
Right, exactly. It's not right.
Stick to 4.
Stick to 4. You're right.
Those are my 4.
Wait, so what are you for?
Cian Años Maduro Robusto.
Number 1.
The LG small batch number 1.
That's a great call.
The Arturo Fuente 858 Rosado Sun-Grown. And the face.
The face. Coop.
Will.
Okay.
Cigar Mount Rushmore.
Cigar Mount Rushmore. So, Avo LE10. You guys know my love affair with that cigar.
I went back and smoked one of those, and I tell you what, I was blown away.
Yeah,
I was blown away, man.
And they're really aging well.
Yes, that's what struck me. When I first smoked it, I thought it was really good, but now I smoked one recently, and I was like, holy crap, that's even better than when I remember it.
Yeah, no, it's a hell of a cigar. Padron 1926 Maduro number 9.
Okay.
That's not a bad call at all.
Nope.
Yeah. This is my kind of surprise pick on Mount Rushmore, the Tatuaje Little Boris, which I know it wasn't a lot of them, but for what was out there, my goodness.
Well, if you
That's
could tilt your camera down a little bit, we're just kind of seeing yeah, there you go.
okay. Yeah, I'm kind of my back got a little stiff, so I was adjusting
No,
myself.
no worries.
Okay, and then the fourth cigar, guess going for consensus here, La Rosa and Años Maduro.
Yeah.
And that's, all four of us had that, and that's a cigar that's come out in the last 12 months.
That cigar is just, and I go ahead.
So he's saying I was close on Davidoff Fury the Snake too. I was very close on that.
I was torn, and not to belittle the point, I called up the factory to see if do we have to get that Maduro with that buy-in of all the regular Chinaños. She said, nope, no way. I said, tell Nestor, Nestor? I said, yeah, nice guy. So, I'm his niece. I said, tell him that we love that. And she says she's going to chime in this particular episode. So if you're listening, honey, please.
Make that happen.
Oh,
why didn't we buy the box? It was online.
I know it.
We
Him and Hood. I know.
You know, Barry Stein was on here and said that we're probably going to see him again.
Yeah, but I don't believe that.
No, me
I don't
either.
know if I believe. Not to take away anything from Barry or, it's not a knock on Barry.
I'll
By any
tell you
stretch,
what,
I think we'll see him.
You
again.
can get singles here and there, but to get the box like that, we messed that up.
It's still almost $400 for a box.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it ended up on all of our cigar Mount Rushmores is telling me
something.
Laura needs to sell us all a box. Something.
I'll pony up.
Yeah, I'll pony up.
I'd pony up. I'd pay $400 for a new box.
I'd pony up.
Yeah, I'd do it.
The interesting thing about here's the dynamics of that cigar. You guys knew each other. I kind of met you guys really in the last 6 months. We both were thinking that cigar. We both smoked that cigar. We all smoked that cigar before we met.
Yep.
And we both had that at such high level.
Right off the bat.
Amazing.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
All right. It was no question for me.
No, I had a wet spot.
It was no question either.
Wet spot in my shorts on that one. Oh.
Is that like a new rating? It's a wet spot in my shorts.
Oh, my God.
Well, folks, we've got a title for this episode. Wet spot in my shorts.
Okay. Anyway, moving on.
It's so fitting.
Yeah,
I love how I kind of struggle with the episode title and then it comes to us.
After about fucking bottle of bourbon.
All right. The next Mount Rushmore that we're going to build for our listeners is... This one wasn't tough for me, dude. This one, it was literally off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. There was no question for me. These are my top four. Without question, the four cigar companies that would represent my Mount Rushmore. Mm-hmm. Number one, in not any particular order, but number one, Arturo Fuente.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You look at their limited releases, you look at their... I mean, they've got everything from extremely... some of the most rare cigars in the world, all the way down to the average, everyday, regular production, under $5 cigar. It's really good. Mm-hmm. So for me, there was without question they had to be on the list because of just the feat that they've accomplished in the cigar industry to produce the most extremely rare cigars in the world to the regular production that are all just fantastic. E.P. Carrillo.
Oh, yeah.
One of the reasons why that lands on my list is... Again, that combination of the limited releases from his very first initial limited release of the inaugural 2009, all the way to he makes some of the best regular production cigars on the planet. Mm-hmm. E.P. Carrillo's on my list. Tatawahe. I mean, of course, he was our interview for the show. Yeah. There's no need to go into any more detail there. And Padron. I mean, consistency, quality, the whole 9 yards. Those are my four, and like I said, it didn't take much effort for me for those to just come off the top of my head to build my Mount Rushmore of my four cigar companies that would consist of and make my Mount Rushmore. Stogie Santa.
Well, number one is for me. I think you all know that is Padron.
Yeah.
Right then and there. Number two, and I'm not just saying this because of what you said. When it comes to Fuentes, they're second to none.
Sorry, every ash of this cigar is dropping on me.
What EPC, what I love about them, they're out of, you can't pick up one cigar and say that's his. He's always ever changing, always thinking out of the box.
He has something in every category.
Exactly. And he's just something special. And the other one, of course, is Pete. I think that would be everyone's.
So you agree with him in consensus then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right, going on like that. And the fourth one, I'm having a difficult time with it, but you're gonna think I'm crazy. He's put out some great smoke. I got to put Don Pepin out there. I have to. I really do. He's puts out some really. I think if without Pepin, you don't have Tatuaje. You know what I mean? They go hand in hand. So that's my.
Is that how you feel about it, or
no? I like.
or you
I
feel
I
more
love
about the
his
opposite
smoke.
way?
No,
So
no,
wait, so I'm sorry. What's your
Pepin?
What's your 4, or is it just Padron Pepin so far?
Padron, EPC,
Yeah.
Tat, Pepin. I just love some of the stuff
Yeah.
that he puts out. He really does. He puts out some great smokes.
One of our listeners in the chat is kind of backing up to the previous Mount Rushmore of cigars. Zedman says the Paul Gamarian Symphony 20th Salomon, an H. Upman Royal Robusto, the Barclay Rex, and a Hoyo de Monterrey Epicure Especial.
It's a great list.
Yeah, can't argue with that
list
list
too.
either.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly. So those are my.
I feel like that's going to be the one where you could get a lot of agreement, because when I go into my companies again,
Companies, yes. Please,
you
Mark
know,
Jr.
Fuente's got to be there.
Mm-hmm.
They produce two of my favorite lines on the entire planet, between the Opus and the Añejo.
Yep.
Right? I mean, how can you go wrong there? Tatuaje. I mean, again, the brown label is such a staple in my humidor.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, he makes all these limiteds that are. He has very few misses, really, when it comes down to it. Padron, I love Padron, not only because they make great smokes, but I love what they do. I love that model that they have. Everything from the seed to the tobacco to the rolling, everything is controlled by them. It is uniquely Padron, and I love that about them. As much as I love EPC, I'm gonna take a different company, and I'm gonna go with Illusion, because I love his attitude.
He don't give.
I love the attitude of that company.
It's the honey badger attitude.
Yeah. I love the attitude of that company. I love the new advertising that they have. We're not industry standard, and really they aren't.
No.
You know, and I like that about them. So that's the only way that's where I'm going to deviate from you guys a little bit on that. Is with that company. I really admire. I really admire the attitude there.
Officer Paul chimes in the chat. I'm on his top 4 cigar companies from Mount Rushmore with Fuente, Quesada, Miami Cigars, and Tatuaje.
Okay. It's
Cool.
solid too.
Will, over to you.
Okay, mine's gonna be a little different. I'll start off with Padron. So I think we talked Padron. I put my father and Tat as the factory. Is how I looked at it. So I kind of looked at them as one.
As
I
one
know they're
entity,
two companies, but I put them as one. So I'm looking at the My Father factory and what comes out of there. If I look at them as a company, that factory, no one can argue. Now the third one I'm going to take a lot of crap on, but I'm going Drew Estate. What they've done
Not a lot
for
of
the
crap
industry.
to be taken there.
What was that?
There's not a lot of crap to be taken there. To be
I mean,
honest
they've
with you.
reinvented. I don't say reinvented it. They've turned the industry upside down. And say what you want about infused cigars. My goodness, what they did with that, and they sell. Liga Privada, they were able to create that premium line of cigars.
Has anyone ever created? I think there's one person that has, but has anyone? There's been very few people that have created the buzz that Drew Estate has with that Liga Privada line.
I'll tell you what, though.
So
If you look at their, so what do they call the kind of spin-offs from the Liga? Unico
Underground.
series.
Oh, Unico. Okay, yeah.
Their Unico series, for me, is just an extremely special line of cigars.
They're small. They're the Viajes of the Drew Estate.
Yeah,
the Liga Privada line.
the
They're small batch.
UF13 Dark, the what's the Lancero?
the L40,
L40,
the Dirty
L40,
Rat, the Flying
Dirty
Pigs,
Rat, all those releases were, in my book, were home runs, and they were all box worthy or better, in my opinion. So I agree with you there, Will.
Yeah. Now the fourth one, I went to the Dominican Republic, and I didn't hear this one on anyone's list. Davidoff.
Wow.
That was close for me. That was close for me, Will.
And look at the portfolio. Look at how that company they made Cuban cigars. They 25 years ago they reinvented themselves into the Dominican market. The brands they've assembled are unbelievable.
You know what, Will? I'm glad you said that because a lot of people will write in and say, oh, I can't afford Davidoff or I don't like Davidoff. And the reason that we continue to review all companies, including Davidoff, is maybe you haven't tried one that you liked yet. How can you say you don't like an entire brand? I think some people might be basing that on they smoked one or two cigars, and Davidoff has a lot of different blends within their portfolio, and I think they probably make one that you're really going to like. Now, it may be a high price tag.
I think this year they really reached out to try and reach a market with another segment of the market with the Nicaragua.
I bought another 5-pack of their Nicaraguan short Corona. I think that's one of the finest blends that came out this year.
Will.
So I'm going to make a prediction here. And Cigar Aficionado is doing their list earlier this year. They're doing it in late December as opposed to January. My prediction is that Nicaragua is their #1 stick this year.
Interesting prediction.
And that's my prediction. I'm going to go on a limb with that. Not that it's mine. It's not mine, and it's a good stick. But I think, what they did again with that cigar and what Hanky Kellner did with Nicaraguan tobacco is different than what anyone else has done in a long time. I like the leadership of the company right now. They have history with Zeno Davidoff. I'm gonna go Davidoff.
Couple of entries from the chat room. Ed writes in and says Tatuaje, EPC, Padron, and Drew Estate. Can't go wrong there. Frank writes in and says Illusione, Tat, EPC, and La Aurora.
Okay.
Totally agree.
La Aurora didn't make it on any of our lists either, by the way.
Officer Paul says small company Mount Rushmore is 262 Nomad Rodrigo and Lou Rodriguez. It's a good that's a good boutique list in there. Yeah. That's a good boutique list. I like that, Officer Paul. Very nice.
You should have did a category on that. It was pretty good. Yeah,
that's pretty good. All righty. Let's move on to our next Mount Rushmore, which is cigar industry people from Mount Rushmore. And again, like I said, I try not to have a specific formula. This is just going on my gut reaction to this one. I came up with my list as Pete Johnson. Of course, he was our guest for the show, what have you.
It goes without saying.
It goes without saying.
Whether he was our guest
the blends that dude's come up with, man.
Yeah.
You think about, okay, I got 3 cigars that Pete blended that are, probably my top 10 of all time. And then you're like, wait a minute, maybe that number is as high as 4 or 5. Then you expand your list out to the top 20 cigars, and you're like,
it might be 10.
Pete's got to have almost 10 in my, of blends that he's done that are in my top 20. So, I mean, without question, he's got to be on the list. EP Carrillo, and extend that back into the original, what he did before he was.
What was that? EPC.
La Gloria Cubana. Extend that back into La Gloria Cubana. I mean, EPC is one of the most epic cigar blenders of all time. And, the stuff that he did immediately out of the gate when he started blending on his own and all the stuff that he's released, puts him in my list. Jose Blanco. I mean, you try and find a La Roa Preferido, that he had a hand in that you don't like, and then the stuff that he's done since then. And I think for me, Jose Blanco, one of the things that solidifies him on my list is what he does for the industry and for the education of people and educating people about blending and cigars, and his passion puts him on my list. And for me, Jonathan Drew. And again, that's a more almost evangelistic role for Jonathan Drew in
what he handles.
In all the stuff he's done with social media, promoting cigars that are infused with flavors, and as well as being so well-rounded to break into the premium cigar market and put cigars, that Drew Estate's producing that are on my top 10 or 20 cigars of all time, lands him on my list as well. So, and you can see that now that list cigar industry people, 2 of those 4 have been on the show, and you can kind of guess from that who the other targets are for us to bring on the show are on that list, right? So,
I mean, like I said, you look at social media-wise, another one, but one that sticks out for me, the one that's behind the scenes, is not Steve Saka. What he's done with the industry is second to none, right? Second one for me is going to be Rudy Padron. incredible. I got to know him over the last 4 shows. Just a gentleman to me. I really, really enjoy what he's done. What he's done. I mean, they keep it simple. Everything they've done is class.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They don't. Why change it if it's broken? But they don't stay inside the box either, if that makes any kind of sense. And to me, it's really key. Another one, just meeting him, you have to say it, is Ernesto. Mm-hmm. The charisma behind that man is something special. I really do. And this one, I'll tell you what, he's a new face, and he's out of the box. Is Willie Herrera? I really do. I know it's early yet, but I like the guy a lot. I'm just going. This is a outside pick. It's really new. I really do. For enthusiasts,
I'd have to say, as far as genuine people go in this industry, Willie Herrera, you know,
and
he's
he
on
knows
top
a
of
lot.
the list.
And
yeah.
I know he's shy. I know he's this, but I want something new and something different. You know,
Yep.
trying to think outside the box. And he is a cigar enthusiast.
Absolutely.
He really is to me.
I'm going to go with Pete Johnson. I'm going to echo a lot of what Paul said. There's just so many of his cigars that have landed so high in what's gotten me into the cigar industry. So it would be disingenuous for me to not include him in my list. Now, this company was a runner-up for me, but Lito Gomez. I think he really has done great things in terms of his limiteds. Again, there's a bunch of them that land in my top. You know, whether it's the Limitado 3, the small batch blends, the factory presses, the list goes on and on, right? I like, I mean, Ernesto Perez Carrillo, right? Like that's just someone that kind of just he's a rock star, really, you know, when it comes down to it. And then I'm going to go back to the Illusion. Dion, he makes great cigars, and one of the things that I love about him, and I love about the way he represents himself, is that he's a little bit of a mystery, you know?
And that's part of his game.
It's absolutely part of his game, and I like him for it.
Think about what the name of his cigar is all about. It is an illusion. It's basically what it is. And he doesn't take it seriously.
And I'm not a Patriots fan, but I'm going to hearken him. I'm going to really kind of parallel him a little bit with Bill Belichick.
He's
right?
like the Bill Belichick of cigar.
Yeah. You know, Bill Belichick's a friggin' genius, and nobody can ever take away from his results on the field. But that guy doesn't give you anything.
No.
Nothing. And that mystique really plays into what he does. And
I want to say
that, I think
they just
Dion
set a
has made
record
it
for
too.
the most winningest quarterback and coach in all time. I think they surpassed John Shula and
Marino. And they took over Chuck Noll and Terry Bradshaw too.
Yeah, it's the most winningest quarterback and coach team.
Yeah,
in NFL history.
I think Seifert and Montana are up there too. But yeah.
Yeah, they
Will,
were big.
What do you got,
Okay.
buddy?
I'll start off with Don Pepin Garcia. So I think his record speaks for itself and what he's done over the last 10 years and beyond. So I think that's my first pick. Ernesto Perez Carrillo Jr. Absolutely, what he's done, whether it goes from big ring gauge cigars to being the godfather of boutique cigars to just being an absolute. I think he's the guy behind this. What I call creative impressionist period of cigars right now. If it wasn't for him and some of the stuff he did with his blends, I don't think we'd be seeing the creativity we'd see today.
Is EPC the person that landed on all 4 of our lists?
Yes.
And maybe Pete, although Will's not finished yet.
Yep. Hanky Kellner.
Okay.
This guy's a genius as a blender. And Davidoff Nicaragua, he hasn't lost a beat. So, I mean, that's kind of proven. And, you think about when Davidoff went, I know I'm harping on Davidoff a lot of time, when they went from Cuba to Dominican Republic, it's when that's when Zeno Davidoff found Hanky Kellner. And that was a lot to do with it. So, Hanky's on my list. The fourth name is a very different name. No one's mentioned this name. He has passed. Edgar Coleman Sr. And I don't know if folks know who he was, but he was the guy who basically built up General Cigar.
Hmm.
And this guy he revolutionized cigars before the boom. He was the one who basically not only did he build General up, not only did he assemble these portfolios, but he was the one who had the notion of, hey, cigars could be marketed to the younger crowd, not children, but the 21 to 25-year-old crowd. So he targeted his marketing to that larger audience, and again, he may have paved the way for guys like the Matt Booths and the Pete Johnsons and the Jonathan Drews, who now have picked up the mantle and now realize that that's an area to market to and create a lot of cigar enthusiasts there.
And that's what I think of Steve Sacco, the different things he's done.
Yeah,
You
you can't argue with that. You can't argue with those picks either.
Yeah, no one's got a bad pick, and you look at what they do and how you cross over and do different things to get people. Like everything in every industry, you need young people to carry on the torch. That's what we need.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Just some other ones from the chat room. Ed weighs in with Pete Johnson, Jose Blanco, Jonathan Drew, and E.P. Carrillo. Which is pretty
Carrillo. Yeah, everyone.
That's my list exactly, so I agree with you there, Ed. Adam ATL weighs in with Pete Johnson, EPC, Jonathan Drew, and Don Pepin Garcia. Again, all people we've mentioned as well. Officer Paul weighs in with Pete, Fred Rui, Clint Aaron, and Skip Martin. Mm-hmm. Frank weighs in with Abe Flores, Pete Johnson, E.P. Carrillo, and Arturo Fuente.
Fair enough.
I mean, there's
no right answer. This is
exactly it's arbitrary. I mean,
we're just spitballing here.
Right.
We're just spitballing.
But the whole thing is, I'll tell you what, Pepin's a genius. There's no doubt that if there's such thing as a dual Godfather, that's
no,
it really is. They're amazing people. They're just
one person that we all left off kind of that I think probably needs a mention here too is Carlito Fuente.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He really bucked the trend, and he was the one who said, screw this. We can make a Dominican wrapper.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for that.
You think about it.
That's a real
trailblazer.
Great point.
You know what's interesting is a lot of the people that we've spoke about as far as our industry people from Mount Rushmore are very outgoing. They're doing a lot of different interviews. They're involved in social media. Fuente is one for me that's kind of a mystery. I don't know the people behind Fuente, and they keep a very much, like you said, that
they like
kind
that.
Of, they like
mystique.
that kind of mystique surrounding them,
But
which is interesting because I would give my right arm to sit in the same room across from Carlito Fuente and do an interview with him. I really would. I've got a laundry list of questions that I want to ask. And I think it would be just such beneficial to the cigar community to be able to do
Mount
that.
Rushmore didn't have two sides of it.
Yeah, huh?
True.
You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah, he is. I heard a very approachable guy, Carlito too. That's what I've
heard that as well.
But let's put it this way: when we're at the Ashton dinners, he's always there, and Pete's there, and just it's name dropping, but there's tons of people. The line to meet him is around the block.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna tell you, he's gracious. I don't even try to, like the same thing. I would love just give me not even an hour, give me 5 minutes with him, and you can't get near.
Oh, I want to do that 45-minute interview with him so bad. I don't know if I could keep it to 45 minutes because I got so many questions burning on my mind.
But
so hopefully someday.
I'm
someday
interested
we'll
for
get
the
there.
next segment here, enthusiasts.
Yeah,
because I have a different way of going with it.
I was so the next one is 4 cigar enthusiasts for Mount Rushmore, and we'll kind of qualify this segment for us.
Okay, someone who's not in the industry, but maybe is someone who's been someone who you've seen very visible with cigars.
So I was very conceited, self-serving, big-headed, call it what you want. So I said me, Stogie Santa, Will, and Mark Jr. I want to put all our faces up on there, Cigar Enthusiast Mount Rushmore, because that's just
Maybe
how
we should Maybe we should create that in Photoshop.
We
and
should,
put it on
definitely
put it on our
photo.
website.
That should be the album art for this podcast.
Yeah.
It's our faces on freaking Mount Rushmore.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
it's
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of half kidding there.
but it's out of them. That's a great question. That really truly is. Because go ahead.
I actually thought about that one the most when we looked at it, and I took it from more of a historical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Winston Churchill.
Yes.
I mean,
that's a great point.
Not only did he every picture of him has a cigar in his hand. The guy was so much of an enthusiast.
And there's that epic
that they named the friggin' cigar size after the guy.
And there's that epic picture in history for me that stands out in my mind where it's like Churchill,
Eisenhower,
Stalin, Eisenhower,
and the guy Montgomery, the guy from
and they're all sitting there having
England.
a cigar together,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So Churchill's one for me.
That stands out. That picture definitely
Yeah.
speaks volumes and stands out in my mind. And people that are history buffs relate to cigars because of Winston Churchill.
Sure.
Like people that are like have no idea about cigars, but they're like, oh yeah, I follow the history of Winston Churchill, so therefore we've got some commonality because we all like
And
cigars.
he's a fascinating history and person.
There's a
in
whole
world
book
history,
about
you know?
Winston Churchill and specifically his enthusiasm and hobby of cigars.
Yeah.
An entire book on that. It's on
number
my
two,
read list.
Mark Twain. He's a fascinating American person in American history. You know, his
Was
writing
he the drunken?
is iconic.
Was he the drunken author one, or was that Hemingway, or was that both?
Both.
Well,
It was both. To write for a living, you got to be a drunk. Is really
so
what I take
have to-
away from that.
I'm also going to say that my Rushmore for the people outside of the industry has 5 faces. I'm bucking the trend here. Hemingway was my next one.
Yeah.
Hemingway.
Well, the whole
is
Hemingway
ultimate,
series from
but he's the ultimate man's man. On top of it, the guy deep sea fished. He went to bullfights. The guy, wrote fantastic books. He just was a man's man. And one of the things he
was the
enjoyed
world's most
cigars.
interesting man.
Before Dos Equis.
Light
got there,
years
yeah.
before. Yeah.
Number would that be number 4 for me? No,
Have
it would
some
be
more.
4 for me.
Have some more bourbon.
Pappy Van Winkle.
Really?
Look at the label of his Scott of his
He's
bourbon.
smoking a cigar on there.
Good, cool. Oh, he always does.
Let me see. Yeah, let me see that. Let me hold that up for the camera.
Wow, that's thinking outside the box.
Pappy Van Winkle, to me, makes the best bourbon in the planet. Bourbon is the best thing to go with a cigar. So why not go? Why not?
Is this the 20-year? I think I'll have some more of that. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna.
I'll take a splash too.
In
while you're at it.
honor
I gotta go.
of Pappy Van Winkle,
my first
we'll
one.
drink some more 20-year.
My first one, because I'm a sports enthusiast. That actually was Red
I got
All
one
Back.
more.
Oh, go ahead.
I got one more.
Oh wait, Mark Jr.'s got one more.
And I'm going to take the Time Magazine approach for the Man of the Year here.
Oh,
They're not
yes.
always good people, right? And they're not always good for the world when they make it. Fidel Castro.
Right.
He's done a lot of very negative things for the cigar industry, but there's
In
no
the world,
doubt about it.
No, but I know what you're
He
going.
has
Yeah.
his fingers in the cigar industry, and that man loved his cigars.
Well, I mean, Cohiba is pretty much associated
him.
with.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's all him.
enthusiasts, I look at it on a more personal note. What got me into the industry? The first one is Red All Back because I love the Celtics. That man would sit there on a bench and light up a cigar.
Yeah.
And loved the Hoyo de Monterrey. That was, that really, really, to me. And the second one, I know he was George Burns.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah,
That's a good
even
one.
though it was a white owl.
Who gives a fuck?
Who gives a fuck? And the third one, because I kind of, as much as I'm not liberal, but JFK. Because look what he did. Before he signed the Bay of Pigs, he got a whole bunch of cigars.
He did. he ordered cases of cigars before he signed that shit.
Oh, yeah. He
did.
He turned around. And I'll tell you what. My 4th face on Mount Rushmore is Mr. Cooper. Because
I love it. I love it.
To me, he's the epitome of enjoying. I tell you what, I knew who he was, I know a little bit about him. Watching him smoke a cigar, a young kid wants to see who wants to get there is Mr. Cooper. I tell you, I've never seen anyone. It's a unique.
Oh,
I know. I'm sorry. Am I Miss Shill?
No.
Call me a shill. He makes me wanna.
It's almost like he's eating a cigar. Yeah.
He left.
So good.
My palate was. I was talking. I don't know how many had at the show. He left. My palate was clean. I smoked another half a dozen. I couldn't. So those are my 4. I don't have 5. But those, I'm sorry, Coop. You're
That's all right. I feel bad I didn't put you on mine, but I wasn't thinking that way.
You have time to adjust yours, Will. You're up next. You can reciprocate.
No.
All right. So, Winston Churchill for what Mark Jr. said, and George Burns for what Stogie Sanders said. So those are hands down. My third one is Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, okay. That's a good one.
And I had a chance to meet him and smoke a cigar with him once.
Really? Wow.
Wait, who was that? Back up.
Rudy Giuliani.
Oh, really?
I met him in Dallas, and I smoked a cigar with him. He was smoking a Padron 26, number 9, actually.
That's pretty epic, man.
Yeah. My fourth pick, and this is I'm going to take some hit on this, but when we go 15, 20 years now, and we start looking at cigar history, Jeff Borshowitz, the owner of Corona Cigars, is going to be a guy that goes down in the history of cigars. And here's his contributions. Founder of the CRA. He was a lead instrumental person of the development of the IPCPR. He's founded the Puro PAC, which is going to be funding a lot of political campaigns for cigar rights. He started the presidential petition. He's going to be looked upon as maybe a Paul Revere or crusader of cigar rights, and I think he's a guy that if this thing turns in our favor, we're going to look back at his efforts and we're really going to appreciate his contributions. So I'm looking at him more from a cigar patriot view on things.
That was great. But you know, another one again, enthusiast. I'm being self-centered, but what more could you ever forget? How many people did he kill with a cigar in his mouth? Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. So Officer Paul says Churchill, Schwarzenegger, Twain, and John Jameson just because he's Irish. Officer Paul also put up there kind of as a joke, Paul Asadorian, Rob Hemming, Bob McDuffie, and the Birdman, people that started the podcasts. Also, I don't know if there's any up there. From our listeners. Thank you very much for our Adam. ATL says W.C. Fields, C.S. Lewis, and Hemingway. Yep. Churchill is up there. George Burns.
Isn't it amazing? Well, not that. I mean, a consensus. We're all pretty close.
Yeah. We were all pretty close in our Mount Rushmores, Will.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was a great segment. I like that. That was fun.
It makes you think.
It was fun.
It makes me wish we had another category to keep going,
We could probably pick 4 of the categories in the future. Boutiques, we can revisit it.
Yeah, I agree. Sizes, yeah.
Blogs.
Blogs, yep.
Oh, yeah, I know my number 1.
Half wheel.
Oh, geez.
You're
out.
I'm not going there today.
Yeah, exactly. You had to bring that up, Mark Jr.
Guys.
It's 50% flat tire, Mark Jr.
Flat tire.
I'm not afraid of him.
Neither are we. Bring it on, Bubba.
I'm going to get in trouble.
It's really bad when they
all
come
right.
up at the end of the show.
That's whatever. That's where they belong.
All
right, enough.
Well, that about sums it up.
Hey, Paul, we got one more contest to just mention, too.
Yeah, you want to do a contest?
Well, we have the one that I started last week.
Okay, do it, Coop.
So just a reminder, there is a prize pack. If you and the details are on episode 74 of Stogie Geeks as well as on Cigar Federation. All you have to do is tweet a Cigar Coop news or cigar preview story, not a review. I saw a few people do reviews. Tweet it and then hashtag it with Cigar Coop News and hashtag it with Stogie Geeks. We're giving away a La Gloria Cubana Travel Humidor. I have the 5-pack of the España Coronas from Stogie Santa in my hand right now.
Wait, do we qualify? Can I enter that contest?
The Stogie Geeks employees are not eligible. And I mentioned I was going to throw in a mystery cigar, and I'm going to throw in, I was teasing earlier, the Añejo Shark. and this is 2012, so this is ready to smoke. And I smoked one of these from the batch, and it was real good.
Are you sure? Are you
So
sure we're not eligible?
Will Cooper endorsed.
Let me tell you. So this guy, this is a no-brainer contest, guys. I want to give this stuff away. So get on the Twitter. As much as I hate Twitter, I think it'll be good to kind of build our social media following.
I love Twitter. Just so you know.
But Pappy
Silence.
Van Winkle.
Crickets.
Pappy Van Winkle. Wow, that's out of the
Yeah.
box. I like that
So
one a lot.
check out Cigar Federation. The contest is on there or our website as well.
Well, I mean, the guy's such an enthusiast that his
Yeah.
picture is on there smoking a cigar, man. I mean,
Yep.
That was a good one.
I love the Mount Rushmore, Will. That was
It really was.
it was really unique segment.
was
I
very
really
unique,
liked it.
and you
I
sit
had a
there,
lot of fun with it.
You did. You're sitting there. No, this one. No, that one, and this one,
And you're saying I left. You know, we didn't talk Manuel Quesada either. That was another one.
No, that was a good call.
yeah, maybe there is. That's it.
we could do it
back of the
again
brain.
just on runner-ups, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something. If you're not on the face, it doesn't matter because there's so much. There's so much out there. That was a great segment.
ATL says that JFK ordered 1,200 Upman Petite Coronas right before the embargo.
You know, there was a whole cigar line, 262 Cigars, built on that. That's what 262 Cigars was built on, that whole hypocrisy of the embargo. So they built the whole theme around that.
So what does the 262 denote in that respect, Will?
262. It's February 2060. February 1962.
Gotcha.
When they signed the Cuban embargo. So they have cigars with names of Paradigm and Ideology and Revere and Manifesto, all kind of tied in with that theme. Check out their site; they have some pretty interesting.
Yeah, you know, I thought it was interesting that Pete mentioned in his segment that he would really like to see what would happen with the blending of Cuban tobacco and other tobaccos that we're smoking today.
But I
Because we don't see those cigars, and I always thought it was a myth. But to hear someone like Pete say, "No, I really think there's some merit to that."
He's the first guy I've heard say that.
Yeah, me too. I'm just looking-
most blenders will come out and say, "Well, everyone talks about this being the utopia of cigars, where Cuban tobacco is going to meet Nicaraguan and Dominican
I just
Honduran
don't think there's
tobacco."
enough growing potential in Cuba.
I will say this: if that ever happens, the traditional Cuban blends that are made in Cuba will go away
Oh yeah.
because their quality sucks so much.
Yeah.
That when we get that Cuban tobacco into the people that are making, these much higher quality cigars, really, when it
man.
comes down to it, I think we would see a lot of that Cuban stuff die off.
I think it would boost the limited market. To Stogie Santa's point,
Yep.
where I don't think there's enough tobacco, but there you see another jolt that can happen to
You're
the
right.
limited
In
market,
that-
putting a few leaves in.
I think the limited market would also consist of a Cuban Puro blended and rolled with the standards that we see today from non-Cuban
and
manufacturers.
you-
You know what I mean? So
you-
you'd see a Cuban Puro come
That-
out of a factory.
Tatuaje.
It would come out of
Tatuaje.
Tatuaje's Cuban Puro would be the most sought after cigar.
Cuban,
But you'd
that's-
also see blends with other things too. But I think you'd still see those Cuban Puros if they can get their hands on the tobacco. Why wouldn't they take that tobacco and roll it to their own standards?
It's true.
Cubans would end up being cheaper for the fact that you won't get 3 or 4 plugged a box. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But very good. Good segment.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Great show, guys.
And please, guys.
What a fantastic episode of the Stogie Geeks. Thanks to everyone.
On a closing note, please don't forget the CRA because we're under
Oh,
attack like
yes.
never
Big
before.
time.
A real closing note. I know it's probably at the very end. If you want to go check out what's coming down the pike, look at Australia, what they got to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable. Their box, 75% of the box covers a picture of people with tumors on the face, everything hanging out. Every cigar has the same band. They go into the store. They cannot recommend anything to you. They can't even talk to you about the cigars. So please, it's so important.
We've got a listener in Australia. Shout out to Pete in Australia. He's a good friend of ours. True cigar enthusiast. We should get him on the show for an interview.
Yep.
Talk about that.
It really is. That's why some of the Cuban cigars are raising there.
That would be one
Mark
a
up on
segment
the
that would
box.
be kind of
Yep.
R-rated
Oh,
if you know Pete.
Yeah.
But
Really, it's so important.
entertaining and informative in the same
And
line.
like I said, CRA, baby, all the way.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to this edition of the Stogie Geek Show. Thanks to everyone on Cigar Federation. Join your CRA. Thanks to our special guest, Pete Johnson. And we'll see everyone next week on the Stogie Geek Show. If you're in the U.S., thanks, everyone, for listening. And have a happy Thanksgiving, as that's a U.S. holiday. I was joking with some of my friends from the U.K.
U.S. Thanksgiving.
Yeah, U.S.
Thanksgiving.
I was joking with my friends from the UK. I'm like, happy Thanksgiving. Just kidding. So, thanks, everyone. We'll see everyone on the next episode of the Stogie Geeks.
Hey, Paul.